All right, and so the people who have recent releases, I think you had one, and then anything you want to say. One thing we'll also invite you to do is anybody who actually releases a game is to come actually talk about, like, here's your experience kind of going through the process, do a full postmortem of, like, this is what we did, here's the technology we used, here's what we learned, here's what we would do differently. You know, we'll probably invite you guys both to come back and talk more in depth about them in a future meetup. But anything you want to say just about what the experience has been so far?
This is I guess my 6th Apple app, probably 3rd one on Android. For us, all the revenue comes from Apple. You know, we really don't get anything from Android. Even on an older game we had more Android downloads, but like 10 times as much money from Apple from in-app purchases. So that's kind of, even though we built for both platforms, we kind of focus on Apple right now.
Yeah, my PS Vita game came out last Tuesday, and I was expecting better downloads, but so far used 24, so I'm guessing that not many people, I guess, use PS Vitas as iOS devices. But I guess it's really cool to have a game on a console. We'll see what happens.
Great. And then before we throw it off to Paden, just any other announcements or anything that anybody wants to either share, like, hey, I found this, I really want to make sure everybody knows about it. Yeah?
I have a YouTube video on my blog.
Great. Are you on the Facebook group?
No, I'm just on Facebook. I posted my video on there.
Okay. Well, we should get you to make sure you're on the Facebook group so you can post it there so everybody can actually see it and watch it.
What is your mod? Because if it's Minecraft, I don't know. Which mod API did you use?
I just used the clips.
Awesome. Cool. Very cool.
But yeah, so we can get you to post it there, and then everybody can actually look at it and see it. There's one of the things on the Facebook. And again, how many people are on the Facebook group? How many people are resisting being on the Facebook group? I know there was just a couple last time. Again, I highly recommend being on it. Even if you created a fake account, just make sure you email me that it's a fake account you're creating, because we get so many fake accounts, you know, at least 1 or 2 every other day, and I can tell. But so just let me know if you're going to create a fake account so I can actually add you rather than just rejecting what we normally do. But we've got all these different methods, but that is by far what most people are active on. And I know we convinced Jason to actually finally join at one meeting where he was the only person in the group entire meetup out of 20 people who wasn't the person who found out about the meetup through Facebook. So.
I was the only one that didn't have a Facebook account, period.
Yes, he was the only one who didn't have a Facebook account, and also everybody else had found out about it through the Facebook group. So I highly recommend joining that, even if you don't like it, just because there is a lot of stuff posted on there, a lot of really good, you know, new information and dialogue that happens that doesn't happen anywhere else. And so definitely go find that. And if you want Twitter, I do repost things. If you have a Twitter account, let me know. It's Nash Game Dev. If you tweet anything, I'll retweet it to everybody else. I mean, you probably, if you think I retweeted some of your stuff, and some of your stuff, and some of your stuff. So we try to get mentioned to anybody out there. So
you retweeted me, and then someone who had 500 followers retweeted that. So
I didn't even see who did that.
I don't know. Some guy I don't know.
Welcome to Twitter. Welcome to, you know, I mean, that's what, you know, try to do is trying to get, you know, any of the stuff out there. So if you are on Twitter, definitely, you know, join the Nash Game Dev or follow the Nash Game Dev, and then, you know, either say something. Especially, you know, I'll follow anybody who's in the, you know, the Game Dev group here, and I usually look through there once a day, and if there's anybody has said anything that's interesting that might be, you know, if you have a new release or something is out there, I'll send it out to everybody. All right, anything else that anybody else would like to announce to the whole group? And I'll do it again at the end, but we do have, in December, we're not going to have a meetup here. We are going to have a party, a holiday party. It's actually going to be at David Corrigan's, and I'll show he has a basement that he has where he basically has an arcade in his basement. So he has like
As you do.
he does. He has like 25 machines.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it's a really impressive setup. We were there last year, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's full, arcade machines and your full setup down in the basement. So we'll do that in December, and then January, our meetup. If you haven't seen it yet, I forget the dates now. 23rd. Does anybody have the dates? But it's basically we're gonna be doing a game dev, our game jam, part of the global game jam. Again, we did it last year. We're gonna do it again this year. So 25th. So we'll have a meetup. Basically, we'll have food downstairs on Friday, and then we'll kind of have a session up here on Friday night doing a planning session, and then all day Saturday, we'll basically do one full day of come together starting at 9 a.m. and we're going to do breaking up into small teams. I'll post a bunch of the pictures that were taken at the last one. It's actually a lot of fun. We ended up having, I think, 5 or 6 teams that everybody got a game together. So if you haven't yet been a part of it, no matter what you do, you can definitely find stuff. If you're just doing graphics, if you're just doing coding, we can make sure you actually get on a team to actually do something. It's quite a bit of fun. And there will be a charge for it, and it's mostly so we can reserve the space here for that day. And depending on how many people it goes, the cost goes down. So more people that come, the less the cost is. All right, Paden, all yours.
Awesome. Yeah. So I've been working with Unity for about 3 years, and
I'll just introduce. So Paden, is definitely, he's done a couple other talks. Who was here for his Blender talk? That was pretty awesome. And how many people, we made all swords, or at least, kind of a sword or kind of something. And so he's done one other Unity talk, but it's definitely, if you want to know anything about Unity, or even if you have some stuff, definitely feel free to talk to Paden outside too. He has a new publishing company and game company that he's been working on in the local area called Nedap. And I think it will be, especially seeing some of the stuff that he's produced has been pretty awesome. So thanks for being here again, Paden.
awesome. Oh, by the way, Nedap is Paden spelled backwards.
Yes, it took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah. It's like it is actually a Swedish first name, so there are. Yeah, so anyway. All right, so Unity is awesome. I've been working with Unity for 3 years now, and I've tried to go on to other engines, or this just isn't Unity, and it just doesn't quite work quite as well. So yeah, I love Unity. I'm a sold-out fanboy for sure. But okay, so what I want to do today is actually just show you the process, like from nothing, as you see here, to building on a device, where it's literally from nothing to something. That's actually what I was thinking of calling this meetup, but I was like, no, that's God in the dustbin. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to start kind of in the middle, like a film where we're going to see some results. We're going to compile it, we're going to put it onto a device, and then we're actually going to go back and then now start from scratch once you see the whole process of what it takes. So what I did is I created a game, which this took forever, aka about an hour. So this is just it's just a very simple Pong-like game. And just have some basic AI, and it was really simple and put it together. So this is like your game. This is the game that you just created, that you just spent 40 hours on. It's your pride and joy. This is super awesome. So how do you get that onto a device? See, that's the biggest problem that we have to kind of overcome. So once you actually get registered as a developer with Apple, it's actually very simple. It's Apple simple. You just go to the site and say you want to be a developer. You register your device. There's tutorials out there. I didn't really want to cover that. Did I pull out my connector cable yet? Oh. And so that's really simple. So I didn't want to cover that, but it's the building it onto a device. So I have my iPad mini here. We're going to build this onto. We're going to, what you do is you build it out into Xcode, into something that Xcode can actually understand. And it's super hard. You go up to build settings, you click build, you save it, and you append it. There you go. Yeah. If you notice, I'm also running iOS 6 on this device. I run iOS 7 on my on my phone. Unity compiles to pretty much anything, kind of idea. Same build. So what it's going to do is it just kind of compiles to Xcode friendly code, pretty much. I'm an artist, so I don't really know the lingo to, like, I just know it works, and so I just go with it. All right, so then it spits out a cool file. You go into it, and you open with Xcode 5. So this is pretty much what Unity just created from its assets. So now we're going to go into Xcode. So it'll indexing, processing, pretty much the work file. Progress bar. All right, so it's ready to go. So it sees the iPad. So you just click build. It'll compile everything. It'll link.
In other words, time to buy a Mac if you want to compile Unity onto it.
Yes, you do need to have a Mac. This doesn't work with Windows, which is a very good point. Say what?
Does it work on a VM?
Yeah, virtual machine. I don't know. One way to find out. One way to find out. All right, so I've never actually compiled this game onto my iPad mini. I've done it onto my phone yesterday. And so what it's doing is pretty much just generating the files and such. So this was the big scary thing that I was trying to figure out was, okay, I know how to make a game in Unity, but how do you actually get it onto a device? And I have to say that once I actually figured out how to get it onto a device, it was so much more fun to develop an app. Because, okay, so now we'll have the iPad here. It'll automatically run. There it is, NGD, Nashville Game Developers. Running it on iPad, launching Unity. If you like data, here's some data. Yay for data. So it's loading it, and there it is, running on the iPad mini.
Are you using the free Unity version?
This is free. This is the free Unity version. Is that awesome?
Let's go.
Oh, you got it stuck.
Yeah, it gets stuck. I mean, like, yeah, we need to hire some beta testers to really test the gameplay of the game. Oh my god. Okay, that's also a reset. There we go. Whee! All right, so that's pretty much it's running, compiled. So you can mess with it and test it and everything. So there we go. So now you see how. Oh no, my trial's over. Let me bring up Photo Booth really quick.
So what was it you did to the paddles to make them where they're not perfect?
I used a float randomizer, and let me see. Oh, my cat. That's my kitty. So this is what you can do with Unity. This is my game World War I. So you can see you can accomplish quite a lot with the game engine. Whee! It's the Americans.
This is one you were showing parts of it last time.
Yes, and no, this one's more developed at this point. So you can see it's very robust, and this is all screenshots from my iPad, and it runs very well. There's like peaks of 200 draw calls, which for a mobile developer, if I put that on a forum, they would all freak out and scream that you can't go over 100. Well, there's optimizations you can do. But yeah, so anyway, so this is some of the stuff that you can accomplish. But that's after years of experience. So you don't necessarily have to hit that level to really enjoy game development. Like, this is one thing I was thinking about when I was driving in. I was thinking, like, if you don't enjoy game development, you're doing it wrong. Like, I was thinking of a cool reference. Like, if you're playing football and someone told you that you had to be blindfolded, playing the game of football would be a lot less fun than it would be if you weren't blindfolded. So it means you're doing it wrong, kind of idea. So if you instead of thinking like, okay, I don't have the self-motivation, or I need to learn more, or something like that, maybe it's actually the game development process that you're running into. You shouldn't be doing it because you don't like it. So you should actually find one that you actually enjoy. And so that's what I found with Unity, is that I will literally roll out of bed some days like 8 in the morning, and I'll go till 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning, and I do nothing except eat and build app. That's literally like, it is so much fun. So let us start from scratch. Let's do this. Let's actually make something. Now, what I'm going to do is actually just start with a new scene. Now, what I'm going to actually do is, through the magic of all my complexity, I'm going to load in my preferred layout. And I'm going to be using a visual scripting program. Sorry, what?
What did you do?
Oh, I changed the layout. I just changed the layout up here out of my custom layout. You can actually like move these windows by clicking and dragging them around.
And
You can have them floated. Yes, and you can save them off. Whoops, I just lost my scene. Come back. Yeah, so you can just pretty much move scenes around and everything. So what I did is I just, so over here I just have my little preset. So I have the game view on the left here, and on the right is actually just the world. So right now we have a camera in it. And so everything pretty much just starts with a camera. That's it. Then over here on your hierarchy, you can see that there's literally nothing in the scene except for camera. So if you want to add something to it, you can say add a cube, the great all-powerful cube. And so you can see on the left here, that's the actual game view, what the actual camera is seeing. And so if you move the camera, it actually shows you on the game side. And so you can also you can change it to be different aspect ratios to actually get the correct proportions. But okay. So then what you have to do is, okay, so we just have a basic cube. Let's add a light, a directional light. Works kind of like the sun. If you rotate it, you can see the effect on the cube. Yes. So right now we have cube and light. Very simple. This is like you can make Minecraft now. Congratulations. Okay. So what I need is suggestions. What kind of app should I make? What kind of game? Okay. Got any ideas? Should I clone Angry Birds? I can do anything. It's literally, the sky's the limit. I've made so many projects. What kind?
Multiplayer online RPG.
Korean or Japanese? No. Yeah. Okay, there is some constraints.
Russian.
A Russian?
It's about Russian dolls.
What is that? Is that, oh wait. A Russian doll game? I can't.
A Russian doll MMORPG.
Let's go with Russian. Do we have any other kind of what styles? Let's try to go away from RPGs. Let's something kind of simpler, kind of like a.
Do you know River Raid from the Atari 2600?
No, I don't.
Angry Russian. You can Google it.
Angry Russian. I can Google it.
There you go.
There you go.
You know, like what kind of theme, what kind of style should we go with?
Your tiny toys in the big world, and everything is super big compared to you.
I like it, kind of like Shadow of the Colossus. That's really cool. Okay, Shadow of the Colossus, Russian style. I don't know how I'm gonna add that in, but we'll figure it out. What's your hero? What's the hero like? Or what do you got?
I was gonna say, how about Frogger?
Frogger?
You could probably do within that time.
Getting stepped on by giants. Gameplay problem would be that it would take forever to cross the field that the giants are walking on. What kind of hero character should it be? What should the hero be? A car? A hero car? Okay, transformer? Car? Okay, let's go with robot. Let's go with simple robot. What kind of Colossus should we have?
Instead of having something generic like Russian, why not something a bit more specific? How about having a bear Colossus?
A bear Colossus. Okay, a bear Colossus that is also a ill-tempered.
Gnome.
Hungry.
A gnomish. Okay, I can see it. Okay, so generally what we'll do is we'll start with the terrain. Where is it? Create other. Terrain. Boom. Land. We have land. This is now our world.
Snowy.
Yes, it's snowy.
Area.
Let me actually pull up Blender. This is Blender now. This is my three-dimensional tool that I like using. So what I'm going to do is actually just rough out the, come on, brain. There it is, okay. I'm going to create a capsule.
They're a disco ball, very nice.
Attack of the Disco Balls.
Yeah. Angry disco balls.
Okay.
There you go.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save this this capsule out into the game file. Let's go. All right, so this is going to be just a representation for right now. So we're going to go under our models, under our hero, and you see how it created the directory right there? And boom, this is our hero. Oops. So let's actually have him start a little bit in scene. Holy cow, my brain goes out the window when you're stressed. All right, so this will be the hero. So what we're going to do is, I think I'm just going to have the hero be kind of autonomous right now. So I'm going to parent the camera to the hero. And I'm just going to use Playmaker to transfer him forward, to move him forward. Along the Z. Let's go 5 meters per second. That's about what a human runs at. So to actually see the effect of this, let's add a cube. So this is pretty much how all games start. It's just really basic blocked out shapes. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run the game. Oops. Okay, you see how he's going up? That means he's translating on the wrong axis. Or translating. Oh, I know. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an empty game object, which is just pretty much a point in 3D space. And we're going to parent that object, the hero character, to it. Because Blender and Unity, as of the last update, messed with the how they actually imported together, and so your axes were all messed up. So anyway, so that's pretty much how you fix it. Is you just create a.
Who changed Blender?
I think it was Blender. It was Blender that actually changed it. So that's kind of the one thing with using Blender is that it, you do run into certain things you have to see how we're moving now in the world. Yay! Okay, so this is going to be how we're going to cross the street. So let's get to the fun part. Let's get to making a. Well, while we're on the hero, let's make the hero.
You Suzanne.
Say what?
You Suzanne.
Suzanne.
Monkey
The mesh isn't done very well on it.
Oh, it's not?
No. I could though. Okay, so this is our robot character, like our transformer character, car character. I'm going to actually super simple. You can see why I have a hard time watching other 3D modelers, because I'm like, you're going so slow.
Mm-hmm. Everybody else watching is like, you're going too fast.
Yeah. Alright, just that kind of simple. I've been 3D modeling for honestly about 3 years, about as long as I've been doing Unity. And recently I've been really trying to work on the human form, especially the face, because the face is the hardest thing to model. Because there's literally a portion of your brain that just calculates the human form, or the face, just the face. And so if you can actually have a face look like realistic, much less attractive, you're really good, I have to say. But that's like realistic stuff. And so honestly, pick an art style that's really simple for you that you can do quickly and easily. Because like, look at Minecraft. Like.
And you learned Unity on your own?
Yep, everything I know I am self-taught.
You just pulled it up and started
Yeah, exactly. It's I jokingly say it's used by some of the best and some of the youngest people also. So being that you actually have a community of a bunch of 12-year-olds, every question has been asked at least a dozen times. And so, wee.
Get Power Rangers.
Yeah. Power Rangers. Oh. All right, let's get a little inspiration from Gundam here. You know, it's not kind of cute. Yay.
And you're green like the Android guy, because that's the first thing I thought. I was like, well, it looks like the Android guy with the suit of armor on.
This is just artistic flair at this point. It's kind of fun. So yeah, so I can hand place about 3,000 polygons an hour. So anyway, yeah, yay, super cute. Okay, so the dude has to be animated, right? So you have to have an animation structure. Let me actually. Oh, he's actually animated. So wow, he's cute. All right, our character is Tom. All right, so now let's put an armature onto him, which is pretty much the how you animate character. Things as a robot, it's really easy to animate. So Unity will use these bones as they'll recognize them. And so you can actually apply physics to the bones. And so if your character dies or whatnot, you can actually tell the bone to have certain constraints on movement. And that's what gives you your ragdoll physics, where the character falls down the stairs and his arms and legs all go flying and everything, is because it's actually taking these bones as information and using them for and applying physics to them, pretty much. I'm going to cheat. Now, obviously, if you're in a development process, you would name all these out properly, but we are here to learn process rather than perfection.
I just don't see him falling down the stairs falling.
Yeah. Boop. You guys didn't know you did a Blender tutorial also. All right. A little bit of housekeeping. Control M.
Tutor.
Yeah. Control M.
That's what I was waiting on you to do, copy paste.
Yeah. Keep offset. The fun part's about to start. All right, now. I'm going to do. Oops. He's now animatable. Oh. Yes. Raise his arm. Yay. So, there's definitely some the things that need to be cleaned up.
Well, yeah, he's full of supports.
Yeah.
Yeah, Big Green thinks I got his back now.
Oh, right, did that backwards.
What's the color scale or just the gradient on them right now?
Green is light, red is super strong.
The strength of
The effect that the bone has on the mesh. Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm making sure the upper arm doesn't affect the back plate. And then I'm actually going to have the elbow affect the elbow guard shield here. So this is just kind of like animation cleanup kind of idea. That actually all looks pretty good. That's good enough. Now the back. Good. Why is that still?
So what mode is that on Blender?
Weight paint mode.
Okay.
All right. So this is our dude. We'll just save out the. Actually, yeah, cool. So we just save it. Go back into Blender, and you'll actually see.
Does he have to be in the proper T-pose or anything, or can he just come right in once he's ready?
The correct answer is yes, but he will come in without the animation on him.
Okay.
But when when everything starts, so there's our dude. When we actually runtime, it'll play the first animation. So let me actually go to the animation. I'm going to use Legacy animation, which is the older version, because it's what I'm familiar with. I haven't dived into the super advanced animation rigging system that Unity actually has, which is the best in the world. Even beats out Unreal, which is really impressive. So we should actually, yeah, so he's actually now moving forward, and he played the first frame where we actually just left him at his pose in here. So all right, let's actually go. Let's hold off on animating him and let's focus back a little bit more on Unity. So that's all you have to do is just go back into Blender and save out the file, and it automatically imports native Blender files. So this is our hero dude. All right, so let's work on the boss. Well, no, let's actually work a little bit more in the world here. I'm going to rename. And I'm just going to copy and paste him, and this is what we're going to use for big dudes. So just for a reference placeholder, so now you're kind of working on, now we're actually kind of working on gameplay a little bit. So these are like going to be the big Colossus like characters, but let's see here. Create a folder. Oops. There. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a feature of Unity that's called a prefab, which is really useful. This is pretty much a, this is kind of like a, God, how do you explain this? Like when you create a prefab object, whatever you change, if you had a bunch of lamps in a scene, they're all prefabs. Whatever you change that prefab to, the one parent, it'll change all the rest of them in the scene, right? So you only have to make one change. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a prefab to the bear and pull in the hero character, or one of the giant colossus. And so now he's actually referenced as a prefab. So let's say if break this open. Now let's do this. So, how to explain this? Okay, let's use this as a reference. See, it's like telling me, okay, this is a prefab of an instance. So we're going to we'll edit the speed at which these things move. So I only changed one. I only changed the prefab over here, but it'll affect both characters to now move very slowly. You see, so if you affect the prefab instance of one, it affects all of them in the scene, but it didn't affect the hero. Is that cool? So yeah, so now they're kind of separate. So let me actually rename. Let me apply that. Wow. Unity actually allows you to keep the naming structure for individual prefabs, which is cool. All right, so what I'm going to do now is let us save this guy out as I'm going to use the same armature for animation reasons, and I'm going to now make the bear character, which surprisingly enough is actually going to go a little bit faster because we get to use an awesome trick of using a subsurf modifier for a soft body object, aka a bear. He's a kind of a
large feet.
Yeah, giving kind of a plushy look. Hey, boo boo. We're going to step on some transformers. It's just so easy.
Now I have the horrible thought of naughty bear in my head. You ever tried that one yet? Oh dear. Come on, get your PlayStation or Xbox and try it. Oh my.
Alright, so, surprisingly enough, I kind of do know the head structure of a bear. Of course. Hey, yo, boo boo. We're gonna get us some picnic biscuits. Now, this is kind of cool. Why don't you quit?
Facial guys.
Okay, I could spend like hours doing this. Like, I just need to like call it. Yay, big bear character.
Yay.
All right. Let's adjust the armature. Oh. Whoops. Come back here. There.
Can you throw a first skin on it?
Oh, like a color?
Yeah.
I can.
Or, well, a texture.
Yeah. Well, let's actually, I'll show you this awesome technique. There it is.
Maybe a dash of color for the eyes or something.
I developed this really fun technique which uses one universal texture to add kind of a cartoony effect. So I will show you how that works. All right, so I'm going to open an image. Should I move it? I might have moved it. Let me see.
Does Blender offer stock materials?
They do. No, hold on. Ooh, I deleted it. Let me actually create it really quick. So we will create a texture. So what I'm going to do is actually create a universal texture to be used on all of the models. This is a technique that I developed for adding a cartoony element, and this is actually how I added color to all of the spaceships in the game, in the images that I was showing you earlier. Then
How big is your picture?
1024. Oh, right. Oh. No. Bum-ba-dum.
You use PNG or TGA?
I actually just use Photoshop native files. It's recognized by Playmaker. I mean, by Unity. All right, so this is pretty much a universal texture, which it's one color range of vibrancy, so it's like super cartoony, but you can pretty much texture any model from this with kind of a, and then you apply a cartoony shader to your model. Awesome. So, texture folder, open up the texture. All right, so this is the texture that I just created. So what you do is when you unwrap the character, you set the scale to 0, and now you can place the tiny little point here that you see that I'm moving around. That's technically all of the polygons jammed down into one tiny little area. So what you can do is get like a bear-like color, but then select different regions of the model and actually change the lighting of it, so you can actually add some detail. Let's give him a green vest. Yay! Let's give him some pants. Awesome. All right, so let's go back to Unity. So that's pretty much like, those are our characters that we got so far. And see, what it'll do is it'll import now directly into Unity. And if you see, okay, so this is the prefab that we have right here. And this is the model. This is the new model. So what we're actually going to do is we're just going to click and drag the model over onto the prefab. Let's replace anyway. So what it did is actually replaced all of your prefab instances with the new model, pretty much. So what I'm going to do is in Blender, for scaling reasons, you want to not scale things in Unity. You want to try to have all your meshes be 1-to-1. And so you want your scaling to happen in your characters, because Unity renders them differently. When it does a render pass, it'll render all of the scale objects 1-to-1 first, and then it'll go back through and render all of the ones that are a different scaling. And so you want to have the objects scaled to in your three-dimensional tool rather than in Unity. So as you can see, we've added the characters, the bears. Now this is a new thing with Unity, with Blender, and with Unity. You see how it's the polygons are very sharp? It's because it's importing incorrectly. And this is what happens when you're working with Unity. You'll just run into problems where it's like, okay, how do I fix that? And so you go to Google and you find out pretty much the solution to your problem, and that's what you do. And so I actually found this out just the other day because it was within the last release. So what you want to actually do is you want to calculate out the tangents and have Unity actually do it for you. So now you can actually see it's now smooth shading on the characters.
It didn't apply the subsurf modifier when you export it?
It did. It automatically does, which is awesome. So pretty much if you change anything in here now, now that pretty much your game is ready to go, or your prefabs and such, if you just like change a small element and re-import. Oh, that's the other thing. You also have to be in object mode. So like I moved the back end a little bit here. It just automatically applies it. And so your workflow is super, 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 super fast. So yes, so we have our characters. There were big bear characters. We're moving, oh, that's right, because I swapped out the model. So this is pretty much what like game development is. It's just with Unity, it's like, okay, I have this crazy idea. How do we actually get there from, how do you actually get there?
You hire Paden.
Yeah, you hire Paden. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so I mean, you can kind of see how we're starting to develop an actual thing here. Like it's actually kind of functioning. And let's go. All right, so I destroyed the main camera in the scene. So I'm just going to add a camera back in. And I'm glossing over a lot of different elements that just kind of are not necessary, I guess. That they're simple enough that they can be figured out. So yeah, so this is actual game view. You'd actually be seeing. Yeah. So yeah. So you just pretty much keep building out your project and keep adding components like that. And then what I think I'll do. Let's build this out and put it on a phone. Yay! So it's pretty much the same process where build settings. I added this current scene rather than the previous scene. And it's pretty much just, once you want to kind of mess around with your game on a device, there you go. And then it'll just sync automatically.
Sorry to interject, but
yeah.
If you notice there's, you can build it for the web player. So if you build it for the web player, you can basically just throw it on a website and people can play it off of that. That's really good because it skips the download step, and so it's a lot easier to get it to a lot of people. So for example, if you make a game for a game jam, people don't need to download the game to test it out and give you a rating. They just need to go to the website and play it.
Yeah. Actually, and I highly suggest web players.
What was that?
This is my site that I put up. It's blahblahimba.com. It's actually my kind of internet handle. And this is a game I made for a internet celebrity Counter Summit. This is a silly game that's he plays Counter-Strike professionally. And so I made him a parody game. And
I remember this one.
yeah, so that's his team. One of his guys is blah blah blah. Yeah, so this is all in Unity, and this is playing in a web browser. Here's the dog grenade. And he eats Taco Bell all the time, so a knife is actually a knife is a taco. Yeah. Yeah, so, and then a Miracle Whip, for some reason he took a Twitter picture of him with a giant can of Miracle Whip, so that's the smoke grenade. And just for fun, whenever you reload, it's actually whipped cream. So yeah, so I mean, it runs, beautifully. I'm sorry, my game was too loud. What was that?
Sorry, who do you use, uploading a game like Unity? I'm always curious about, the whole web aspect about it, like how much, whatever it uses, the server and everything. So how much does it use up?
Once the initial download happens, it's that's it pretty much. Like it's I think all of these are under 5 megabytes. So the server right now will just download the game kind of idea, and Unity builds very tiny, and that's an awesome thing is that you have it's only the initial download, and then everything else just runs in the browser kind of idea. So this is the other awesome little game that I made. It's just like really simple. So you can put swordsmen out, put archers. So yeah, I mean Unity builds to everything, which is awesome. You can, but the website plugin that I'm using an older version, and they hadn't finalized the full screen feature yet. So yeah, so this is you can see where your initial game is going to look really simple, bears. It looks super campy. And a lot of guys will get kind of discouraged when you think, okay, well, this is all I've created. But yeah, we created that in 20 minutes. This is just the pure foundation point. And I think one of the biggest features between professionals and amateurs is seeing into the future, seeing where it's going to be, seeing this. Okay, we're going to get to that. Well, all of these characters were the stupid little capsules. The started with, everything was blocked out in a really super basic format, and you don't really see the final version until the last 90% of the build, where everything starts coming together. And that's the thing where I think a lot of people get messed up on, is that they think, okay, it needs to look like Halo day one, and that's not something that you want to shoot for. It's actually, I've just done so many projects, I've done so many builds and everything, that I lean away. I try to wait as long as possible before I add all my shiny graphics to it, because it's so much easier to understand conceptually for the code and gameplay when it's just simple shapes, simple rudimentary shapes, where your characters are just capsules, different colored capsules or whatnot, where you can understand it very simplistically. And that was some of the problem that I had early on, is that you'd run into the problem where, okay, you have this beautiful character that's all animated and they're all fighting and stuff, but okay, when does something start and when does something end? It's there's an explosion going on, I can't really see what's going on or whatever. So if you're going to develop a game, especially if you're a coder, if you're a coder with no art skills whatsoever, just block out with basic shapes the game. And that is exactly when you see development of high-end game engines, games and stuff. If they actually showed you the back end, it's so rudimentarily simple that the character that's being animated is just pretty much a puppet. Everything running in the background is rudimentary shapes. For Gears of War, they showed it was just a capsule collider, just like we created, moving around in the world, and the character that is what the joystick actually moves around, and the animations are fired based on the momentum of that character that's actually being created. So it's really just a puppet. It's only a visual representation of the background, which is these capsules or simple shapes. So I'd highly suggest making games with simple shapes if you are so it'll actually it'll fire right off, and there's no start screen or any kind of elements to it. There we go. So it's just super simple. It's it's going to I just went through the foot, and that's it. That's pretty much well, actually, I wasn't even applying any physics actually in that. So the idea is that's pretty much the process of game development, where we covered modeling, texturing. We made a texture for the actual bears and everything. That's pretty much all I do. There's like nothing special. Like to add sound effects, you just bring in a sound effects file and fire it in Unity or in Playmaker. Just use code that to actually just fire it, and it's really simple.
Can you show how you would actually do like collision running into the bears there?
Sure. Yeah. So there's a couple different ways you can approach it. With this one, I'm just going to go with super simple, where I'm going to select the bear prefab. Remember, back with prefabs where you affect one, it affects all of them. What we're going to do is we're actually going to go to physics and a capsule collider. And we have to make this thing a lot bigger. So this is what the computer sees in the background when it comes to collision. So 9 was 20 meters, 10 radius, 5. So what the computer is going to see is anything crossing in this path here with the green mesh that you can see. With the green mesh, what it's going to do is the computer doesn't see the visual mesh. It doesn't calculate anything based on the visual mesh when it comes to collision at the moment. What it's actually going to do is that collider is going to look for a collider that I'm going to put on the character, and they're just going to pretty much look for each other and and have nothing to do with the actual visual mesh at the time, right now. All right, so there's a much smaller one on this character. So what now you want to do in code is look for a collision. So in the hero, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a transition, collision enter. So what's going to happen is when collision happens with that mesh there, when the two colliders collide, it's going to fire this collision enter, and it's going to go into a new state. So now we're able to actually affect things, and so what we can actually do is actually
It's a robot, Noah.
we could. Yeah, let's do that. So how you would do an explosion would be a particle effect.
And release the ragdoll.
Well, setting up a ragdoll is actually pretty labor intensive. It's not unlike a lot of Unity elements, it's not really simple to, it's not really simplified, which is really interesting.
You can't just tell all of the joints to collapse? Or?
You actually have to apply colliders to every single bone in your character, and then apply constraints to those bones, and apply mass to those bones, and then you actually have to instantiate the ragdoll character upon death. It's like, Unity needs help with that. It's kind of complex. So this is an emission, a particle emitter, and let's go with a sphere. So kind of looking more explosion-y. Speed, size, turn the lifetime down. Let me see.
Make it red.
Yeah. Let me randomly go between two colors.
Cool.
So it'll randomly.
Lovely.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fade out during the lifetime? Or
Sorry, what?
have it either fade out or minimize during the lifetime so it doesn't just...
Yes, that is actually good. Wait, let me go. Yeah. So then, rather than looping, we can do simulate just on. Yeah. I mean, like, I can make crazy good explosions, but that'll work for now, placeholder. All right, so what we need to do is we need to tell, okay, what I'm actually going to do is a fun little trick that I found out using particles where what you want to do is leave them on but have 0 emission. So what we're going to do is take that particle, emitter, set a property to it, set the particle system emission rate. Let's go 20. Well, yeah, let's do that actually. Let's turn looping on. So what you're actually going to do is the particles are going to be emitting the whole time, but there's going to be an emission of 0. And so what you're going to do is actually change it to emit something for a set amount of time. So you'll actually have like an explosion, and then you turn it off by code. That's the best way to make that happen. So this is Playmaker. It's an awesome add-on for visual coding. It's all I use. A lot of professional developers will. They said it was only for beta testing your game, but then they just started building out the game and just putting it out in the store and selling it, and everyone was like, "Well, I guess it's no longer just for beta testing." So yay, because it compiles and it's really small. So it's pretty awesome. Okay, so what's gonna happen is it's gonna be moving forward, and then on collision with the bear, it's going to jump over to this state. What it's going to do is turn on the emissions of the particles. It's going to randomly wait from 0.1 to 0.5 seconds. And then after that, it's going to fire the next state, which is going to set the emissions to 0, turn off the explosion. And what I'm actually going to do is deactivate activate the visual character, the visible character. And so that'll actually turn off the visible character after the explosion. Just like that. All right, let's test it. Yay, here we go. Actually, yeah. Jump in the box.
Did you add a collider to the second one or only the first one?
I don't think I did. No, it didn't work. Okay. So, what went wrong? Now, that's a bug. It's a bug.
The first one go faster.
Yeah. See if the yeah, exactly. So what I have to do is actually apply what I did to this one, and it'll apply to the second one. Yay! Okay. So, and just to kind of stack the deck, I'm gonna move it forward a little bit.
Watch your Facebook feedback.
All right.
Then he'll just move it closer to the box.
Here we go. Not.
May have just missed the cylinder by a little bit.
Oh, is it going to stop his movement, or is the guy just going to keep on moving?
It's not, yeah. Now that's a feature request, not a bug. If you want the character to stop. All right, so.
Disappear, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, duh, right. One of them has to have a physics-based. Yeah. A what? Yes, thank you. 10 points. Okay, no using gravity. Oh, very good, very good. All right. So that's literally okay. If you think like I've been doing this for 3 years and I'm just like, hey, it didn't work. Let's run it. Oh, what happened? You know. Let's continue. All right, so here we go.
Software development 101.
Yeah. Oh, it just exploded. Why it is? It just exploded.
That's 201. That's
yeah. All right. Actually, turn that up a little bit. Alrighty, so what would be causing that? Let me actually just move it off the deck just a little bit.
I was talking about the project where we were doing animation and we were doing a car and it had the wheels. And first when we ran, it's like, okay, watch this. And the wheels are supposed to follow, a nice path, and the wheels will sit there and jigger and then fly off the screen. If you waited about 3 seconds, they'd fly across the screen again because it hit the integer limit.
That's awesome. Yay! Our character's slowly dying.
It's all a sign error.
All right.
Oh no! Oh, I made the first one. I'm gonna
live. And there's still physics on the object, so it actually collided with something, and now it's slowly rolling around. All right, so that's pretty much game development. So let me show you some. Let me actually show you a project that is very fleshed out. All right, should actually turn off my game. All right, so what we're going to look at is the space game that I was showing pictures of beforehand. This is like high-level stuff. So don't get discouraged. Like, if you somehow manage to accomplish what Unity's loading in the background, by the way, if you accomplish something to that level, I would be very impressed. So
How many people worked on this space?
me, just me. Yep, all art, assets, code. I do download assets from third parties like sound files or whatnot. But yeah, so like they're the original creators and then they put up stuff onto the asset store and then you actually buy them. Like I have stuff on the asset store. I keep getting checks every month from Unity. They're like, hey, remember that thing you modeled a year and a half ago or like 2 years ago when you didn't know what you were doing? Yes. Okay, yeah, here's a check for it. Over. All right, so let's go to the main menu. I'll show you the main menu first. So, so this is how I set up the main menu. It's super complex, where everything in Unity is three-dimensional, and so you have to simulate 2D. And so what I actually did is using NGUI, which is a GUI. It allows graphical user interfaces to be drawn in a three-dimensional world, pretty much. But yeah, that was what was last week, pretty much. Yeah, or last meetup. All right, so this is what I did. So this is pretty much the start screen where you see these like awesome, cool transitions. What it is? Oh yeah, that's my tutorial build. That's right. So what is actually happening in the background is the code's firing and moving the objects in 3D space. See how they're all moving? So it actually simulates really cool transitions, but in all reality, it's just moving three-dimensional points in space kind of idea. And so it's kind of a way of like, I know with like Apple developers, you just say, okay, transition code or whatever, and it just works. And well, with this, you kind of have to make Unity be two-dimensional kind of idea, but they're going to be helping, solve that. So what we're going to do is, this is also the other cool thing, is that we're running one scene. So this is pretty much one scene. There's nothing in the level, nothing like that or anything. So what I'm actually going to do is, oh, right, that's broken. I'm going to cheat.
So are you just moving the camera to the different...
I'm actually moving this. Everything is parented to one object, one parental hierarchy, and then I'm just doing ease transitions, and so I just literally cheated and moved it over. All right, let's see this one. So what I'm doing is now it's actually loading the game, and you can see right now I was actually working on a tutorial, like to actually like click and drag and stuff on the UI, and so that's kind of messed up right now because it's actually this is a development build, and so that's what you do is just working on a feature to add into the game or whatnot. So let's go. Let me actually just turn that off. So you can actually like run and play the game inside in Unity, but actually it instantiated this scene. So now we actually have using code, it actually like created the spaceships and like the UI and stuff. But this, I mean, it's the same concept where you have, basic colliders. That's the sound. They all have cameras for when you go to it. So it's like, oh, that's cool. They added like little preview windows on the side. I didn't notice that. That's a new feature. So yeah, so it's the same structure where it's just like our bears where we have like different features and the UI messes up for some reason. Anyone out there developing for Unity, why does your UI mess up half the time? Where you see how it like cuts off like numbers and it's all like floaty and stuff? I don't know how to fix that. I just stop it and restart it, and it actually seems to work. But like here's that rigid body that we were talking about earlier that we had to put on. It needed that so the bullets could collide with it and everything. So there's tons of like layers, and it's just a bunch of little things that you learn. And don't get discouraged by. I know that's like my mantra. That's my mantra. Like, don't get discouraged by, like, okay, it's not quite working. Google it. Like, Google a solution, or just type in how do you, X, Y, Z, and yeah. So that's pretty much the. That's pretty much like a pretty high level. Feature. Yeah. See, I was working on actually developing the UI here. But yeah, so like with the models over here on the hierarchy, right, countries, India, like capital ships. Like this is the, wow, interesting. All right, they changed that hockey. All right, so like this is, the India capital ship, like the battleship that I created and everything, and this is this is actual model, this is the prefab. And yeah, so that's pretty much like the whole structure of Unity. Like there's so much to it. Like I could, like, that's why I didn't really want to just do here's how you create a cube and do like a really basic tutorial, because there's tons of that online. Like you can find that online. You can, there's thousands of tutorials out there for like the simple basic structure of Unity. But this is like, I want to show like A, where you're going, but also B, a workflow that you create models, you texture them, you bring them in, and you just develop a game like that, and you add code to it, and that's pretty much the whole structure. Like I wanted to give kind of like an overview, like what the syllabus or whatever like college-y thing is. But yeah, so how long do we go, Tor? Till 9?
Mm-hmm.
Till 9?
We're gonna stop probably about 5 minutes early.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so that's pretty much like the structure of Unity. So
I would say, because the other thing we talked about is seeing if anybody had specific questions about it that they wanted to ask.
Yeah, actually, let's open this up to you. Q&A.
Could you show an example of you showed how to actually make the plane, like the floor plane.
Uh-huh.
What about adding like the sky texture? Like in this game you have the stars background.
Yeah.
And you had like actually putting clouds. How do you actually affect, like we've seen affecting the ground, how do you affect
the sky? Yeah.
Side of the sphere? It's
called a skybox, and it's actually rendered in the background. Let's actually go back to the bear game, and I'll actually build that out more. What you do is you create 6 images. You have 6 images of sky above, sky below, sky all around, and then you apply that into the world. So right now, the camera let's actually load up the game scene. Whee. So the blue right now is just Unity's default skybox. So what you'll actually do is go under the render settings. That's right. And it's this little option right here. It's the skybox material. And what it's going to be looking for is actual the sky material. Let me see. Do I have it loaded in? No, I don't. Okay, so this is actually that was a great question, because then I can show off that how you actually add features or add content that you did not create into Unity. You import packages. And so by default, there is the skyboxes. So what it'll do is it'll import and say, okay, do you want all of these assets? And you're like, okay, yes, import. And it'll go through and actually format them for whatever you're building on. So for like iOS or Mac or Windows or Nintendo Wii. Yeah.
If you include a resource like this but it's not used in the final game, is it still part of the final binary?
No, it actually parses that all out, which is really great. Great question, actually. I tested that by building out an app and then seeing how big it was, and then putting in like a huge like 500 megabyte image into it and building it again. And no, it wasn't. It actually, it parses everything out, which is great. I do also believe that when you create a prefab of an object, you have to have a prefab of an object before you can call it with code. I think the prefab is actually completely separate from the original model, so it actually only brings in the prefab information separate from the original model, so you don't actually have a model and then the prefab of it kind of idea. Does that make sense? It's just the prefab. Yeah, it takes a little while sometimes to compile. This is when you go get coffee or tea. But yeah, so let's see.
I have a silly question while we're waiting.
Yeah.
Navigation, is it Corgi or like similar to my?
It is. It's Corgi. Yeah, for affecting the characters. So it clashes.
Question?
How do hey 3D other 3D artists? Yes, I answered for one person. When you select a object in 3D space, you can hit Q, W, E, and R to either move, rotate, scale, or I guess it's just like the grab symbol. Okay, skyboxes. Yeah, to answer the question, right now we're in movement mode. Okay, yeah, W or Q is the hand, W is the movement, E is rotate, which is funny, and then R is scale. So that clashes with my Blender logic, so my brain has to switch every time I go back and forth. All right, so we imported these. They're skyboxes, and what you get is these textures that are from Unity, which they look a little bit pixelated because they're compressed, but if you switch them to true color, that goes away. But for speed reasons, I'll just leave it compressed. So then what you do is I don't make skyboxes because it's so difficult. Like, I just buy them because it's literally like, you have to make 6 perfectly streamlined, non-tiled, but yet line up perfectly with each other images, and it's just like, I think it's voodoo, but I'm not sure. All right, so yeah, so then you apply them all on the side here. And so what you go is we'll go back to the render settings. And then see, it says none on the material over here, on the skybox material. So what you'll do is you'll just click and drag on, and it'll add that skybox into the world. There's nighttime, eerie. So yeah, so like.
And are those lighting effects built in too? Like.
No, if you can see actually, like on the bears, like focus on the bear. When I change from like sunny to dark, the bear lighting does not change, and so. Yeah, so actually what you do is you take your directional light, which is kind of like our sun right now. And what I like to do is if you take the eyedrop, you can like drop the horizon, which will change a slight blue tinge, which actually match the ground. And what we can do is go back into the render settings, and ambient light currently is just gray. What you can do is also select a bluish tinge and then make that darker. So then what that's actually going to do is just your shadows are going to have a slight blue tint to it. You see how the ground got really blue? That's probably actually too much, but let me actually pull the directional light down just a little bit. And then you can add, you can actually do like really crazy rendering stuff that I don't suggest this for mobile unless you're baking your scene, unless you're baking colors into your scene. You can actually duplicate your light. Yeah, but what the trick is if you make it a bounce light, you can say, make it green and be very subtle, and it'll actually reflect the green off the grass of your scene. So if it's actually a rendering trick. Let me go with texture. All right. Let me import terrain assets. Yeah, more coffee time. This one actually should go a lot faster. I don't know, they're PSDs, that's cool. So, yeah, so you can do kind of some fun lighting tricks. What you can actually do is bake light information into certain objects. And so you can, say, have the shadows of an object baked into the ground, and so you don't actually render at runtime any shadows. And some of my one of my games that I did, there was no lights in the scene. There was no lights to be seen or to be seen in the scene. They were all just pre-baked out in all of the meshes. So let me actually show you. So what I created was a terrain asset there. So this is like an actual Unity terrain, like mesh modifier thing, a kind of object. And so what you can actually do is something like this, where you actually can affect the ground height. Actually, like create mountains. And then you can edit, add texture.
That's a game in and of itself.
It is, yeah.
So you hit it and blow up.
that as the ground level, so as your sprite is moving forward, will it like
Yes.
go up? Oh.
Yes. And actually, if you want your brain to freak out a little bit more, one thing that they just added was their navigation system. So for your AI, what it'll do is it'll scan all of your terrain, and it'll create a mesh over your terrain, which your AI will actually calculate from. And so you can have like a cityscape and have a character on one side need to go to the other side of the city. It'll actually scan the navigation mesh and perfectly take all the streets without running into anything. Yeah, everyone was like, "You made that free? That was like one of your biggest things with your paid thing." I was like, "Nope. Hey, we're into making everyone be able to make games." Yeah, and so. Let me actually cancel that. Component.
Bears are reminding me of Stonehenge.
Yeah, exactly. Size. Now they changed some things around. Okay, they
I'm
moved
sorry,
it.
no, it's Easter Island,
Yes.
not Stonehenge.
All right. All right. So what I did is I just shrunk the world down. And so what I'll do is navigation bake again.
On that texture, if you lower the terrain, does it turn into water?
You have to add water into the scene, but it will. It will actually. Okay, so with your navigation question, this is a navigation mesh, and your AI will actually use this to move about the scene. Oops. And so it won't go on certain areas where it's too high, but if your character is on like one side of the mountain, on the other side of the mountain, it'll actually understand to go around the mountain and to get to him. And so it's like really high-end AI that they're just like, here, have it for free, yay, everyone wins. And I've used, and that's actually that's what. Did I spell that wrong? I can't find my own website.
Just type, isn't it already there?
Yeah, cool. That is what this game uses. Let me see. All right, so this isn't really a good example because it's so zoomed in, but I think if I actually watch how these guys actually move and interact with each other. They all are running that AI that I was talking about. So they're actually like moving to each other. They're calculating around each other, how to run around each other. And like pretty much there's like really high-end level like movement calculations going on there that are just behind the scenes that you don't even see. And it literally was like that fast, just apply it. And it was just so easy.
Attack the archer first.
Yeah, seriously. But awesome. I love we just made this absolute disaster. It's super cool. But yeah, there's like tons of features.
Does anybody have another question
Yes.
they want to ask Jim? Ask me.
For mobile apps, for different screen densities, do you
Yes.
have to change like textures or graphics, or for like in GUI?
Yeah.
Do you have to change the sprite dimensions or sizes or anything?
For resolution in the game?
Yeah, for like Retina, like the different screen densities of the devices.
Yes, you can. You can set that up. I never bothered because for like a three-dimensional model for a character that's see, it's kind of hard because with a 3D game you have distance, and if the character is really far away, your character's only like that big on screen. And so you have a MIP map, MIP map, and what that'll do is actually shrink the map the farthest away. So when the character's way out there, your texture's only like 16 by 16. But when it's like super close, you can be 496 by 496 or whatever. And so it'll actually kind of take that into account for you. And so it's super easy kind of idea. Like it's like, if anyone can use it, yeah. Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to. You can. To shrink game sizes I have, like for all the games on my website, originally the textures are like 1024, but I shrunk them all down to either 512 or 256 just to shrink the file size. But yeah, so you can. Does that kind of answer the question, sort of?
Yeah, I mean, I think I figured for 3D it wouldn't make too much of a difference, but I guess for the 2D ones where it's not really wrapped or resized, it's more of a fixed size, like, like an image button or something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know how that was going.
I guess I haven't really messed enough with like UIs to really understand it fully, because I know a lot of guys talk about how it's pixel perfect and everything is like structured out. So on this device it loads these images and everything, and I just stretch it looks good, cool, call it good. It's like I haven't needed to, so I don't necessarily know the actual application, but I know you can. But with my development, it's pretty much like fastest possible development. That's like, that's a lot of effort that I don't think would be necessary. Unless, yeah. So I don't know. I guess it would be yeah. All right. Any other questions? Unity? Yes.
So on the Blender,
Yes.
you could use that for like making models in Minecraft.
Yes. Yeah.
I wanted to add in some engines for my use too.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, if you want to do a Minecraft character, that's a really good game to start with.
Yeah, because I'm not like a big artistic, awesome person. I'm just like sort of cute to me.
Yeah, welcome to Minecraft.
And another point about Blender is there's literally probably about almost 500,000 tutorial videos on anything that you want to know how to do about Blender.
Yeah.
I am completely self-taught for the past 3 years.
Yeah, there you go.
You can go to Blender Cookie, you can go to Blender Guru.
YouTube's my favorite.
YouTube, yeah.
So here's my 17-part, hour-long each video on how to do whatever you want. And he's Swedish, there's an accent, but whatever, you get over it. Yeah. Yeah, Blender. I use Blender. So the software that I use, Unity, obviously, Blender for 3-dimensional, Photoshop, 2D. I also use a program called Filter Forge, which generates textures, and
That was pretty neat.
that thing is awesome. Like you can generate like images of planets and stuff. Like there you go, and they're all randomly generated. And so let's say you want to tweak a color or something like that. Well, you just change it, add some red.
We're gonna review your plans.
Yeah, seriously. Like, actually, I think I suggested that.
There's another good one out there called Shade Map.
Shade map? I've heard of that one. Is that kind of do the same effect?
You will kind of have to probably make your own texture map to make it seamless, but it will actually take your diffusion and your perspective and your normal map all pretty much off of the texture.
Nice.
Right into the model. And you can load in your own model into it and see how it's going to turn out.
That's cool. I'd love to do that. Yeah.
$40.
Yeah.
Shade map.
Shade map. So yeah, Filter Forge, I highly suggest it. You can create like crazy awesome textures, and they're all completely unique. They actually, even on Filter Forge, their website, they said literally you can create a website. If you wanted, you could literally just bake out textures from our software and create a website and then just sell those textures. They say they don't even care. That's how community focused they are. They're not like, well, you can't redistribute the textures in their original format. They're like, go for it, it's awesome. So yeah, really, there's literally anything. And you just, to get new filters, it's like, oh, hey, you want noodly crayon stuff. Okay, So yeah, Filter Forge, highly suggested. Like, oh, hey, cartoon eyes. Yeah, let's render out cartoon eyes. And it's, this one's one of my favorite. I actually use this one. Tiles. Like, there's some really high-end stuff. And you literally can just tweak how many tiles, the color, the variation. Filter Forge, highly suggested.
Is it $20 for the software or $20 per?
It's a plugin.
It works on its own.
It doesn't.
I wish they wouldn't say it's a plugin for Photoshop because it's its own program. You can integrate it with Photoshop. You can. That's like they're trying to like have clout to say like, oh, we work with Adobe products, but really it's its own program. It literally stands alone. Like this is, that's it. Oh, that's like a cartoony effect. You know, you can apply to something.
It's $20, huh?
No. There's different packages. There's different deals. Like the high-end professional is $400, but like basic edition is $150. But they run these discounts all the time. Like literally, they run their discounts for like 5 days or 4 days or 3 days. Like buy it now. It's gonna run out really soon. Just literally wait a week and it'll probably be even cheaper. Like it's like there's like a randomized algorithm. But or you can just subscribe to it for like $30 a month, which I mean there you go. Super
I'm
easy.
still kicking myself for Playmaker going down 2 months after I bought it.
Yeah, I think they were running a flash sale, like only for the next 6 hours. It was like $33 or something.
But I got it at 45, and it was down like 20, I think.
There you go. For sound, I use Audacity, which is also free, which is really awesome. So like all these different programs like meld together in the process. So it's like when someone loads up Unity, like this was my brother's experience. He's a coder. He loaded up Unity and was like, "Oh, it's a 3-dimensional art tool." Like, no, it's just the canvas to your, And he was like, "Oh, okay." So he had one idea of it, and then I had another person who opened it up, and it was like, I don't know, it was actually someone here. They opened it up and they were just overwhelmed by all the different options and everything. And say what?
It's probably me.
Yeah.
Sometimes been like, oh, I just want to create.
Yeah, but it's I guess that's the one thing I want to say is that like when I first started, like here's the Bears thing, that it's so just straightforward. Like these are literally the folders that are in your asset project folder under your My Documents or whatever. Like, and it just makes sense, and everything compiles, and it all just flows together so well. Like I'm super preachy about if you want to make awesome, fun games, use Unity. Like, I know like a lot of people here use other software, which is great, but I'm eventually gonna I have to say use Unity. But anyway. Yeah.
All right.
And actually, one last thing.
Sure.
Just for funsies, I was working on a tutorial series for very basic Unity stuff that I was thinking of actually putting on iBook. And this is just let's add a cube. Add a cube to the world. And this is for iPads. You can download them and stuff. And it's just a really simple basic fundamental what's an inspector, a hierarchy, or whatever. But there's tons of tutorials out there. So if you want to make an app, Unity, Blender, Playmaker, Audacity, there you go.
Cool.
So,
thank you.
Yes. That is the juggernaut Unity.
All right, so just thanks again, Paden, for demo on Unity. If you have other questions, as always, you can feel free to either ask directly in the group on Facebook, or if you want to send Paden an email, I'm sure he'd be happy to, especially if you want to hire him to do some work.
Well, I don't know. I don't have enough time right now, unless you're going to be paying me a lot. I'll just say at the moment I'm busy.
That's what you do. You raise your rates until you... are you going to pay me that amount? Sure, I can't pass that up.
Right.
All right, so next we do not have a meetup in December, but it's going to be, I think, the 7th? Actually, can you bring up... just open up your laptop again for a second?
You'll have to give us all directions because I have no idea how to get to wherever this is.
Now it's gonna be. I'm trying to remember but it's gonna be at David's. He lives in Brentwood.
Oh, okay.
So
I do,
but we'll send out
rarely because
email.
I'm so busy. But yeah.
And it will be, I think, the 7th or so, or it's either the 7th or 6th, whatever December that is. That's a Friday. It will be definitely welcome to spouses or significant others. You can bring to the event. And we'll have everybody bring something to drink and snack, and then we're going to order pizza there. So we'll basically take money for the food there if you actually want to have food. And it'll be Friday night from like 6 to 10 or 11 or so. And I talked to David already. How many people went to it last time? Is that anybody actually? Tell us, I know we went to it. You play all the old school games, and you're like, oh man. All right, here it is. Go to Dave's game room.
Here, actually, do you want to just plug yours in?
Just don't know if I have it set up, but I'll show you. And then in January, we'll be doing the so this is his basement.
That is awesome.
Gotta give the Game Galaxy guys a run for their money, right?
Dave Rich?
No.
He takes it very serious.
Yes.
It's his hobby.
It's his hobby.
Extreme hobby.
Does he have Galaga?
Pretty sure.
The thing is, it
Pretty
changes
sure-
a lot.
It changes.
Well, yeah, he's constantly buying and selling.
Oh,
Yeah, and he also has some machines that play more than one game at a time. He has a couple that have a bunch of them in there.
Any pinball?
My favorite was actually, I can't remember if he actually had any of the pinball up. He did have Dragon's Lair, which was a lot of fun,
Oh, sweet.
and he had Track and Field, which
Oh,
What's
Yes.
that old Time Traveler? Have you seen that one?
I
I've
saw
seen
one
that
back in the
one.
back and was like,
But so this is where it will be. So we'll send out an email. If you are going to go, make sure you RSVP, and then I'll send you the actual address where to go, because we probably won't post that directly on Facebook. More if you're interested in going, we'll send it to you.
Should we bring our importers, or does he have a change machine?
No, it's everything free play.
Oh.
But I'm sure if you want to donate money to him, he'll be happy to take in money for the games. All right, again, thanks everybody for coming.
Yeah.
Glad to have a large turnout.
Had 21 people.
I got a 22, but okay.